Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance and stared at the impossible sight before them. The main screen showed a fleet so vast that it stretched beyond the edges of the display. Over 10,000 ships from 6 different species hung in space like a metal cloud that could blot out stars. Captain, I am reading Velthrani plasma dreadnoughts, Chronari bioships, selenite crystal vessels, and even some Zephyrian collective exploration units, Ben Taylor reported from his science station. This is the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 3 weeks had passed since Jake made his decision to ignore Admiral Phillips's orders and head for the galactic core. The Zephyrian AIs had remained aboard the Defiance to study human engineering principles. Now all of them were about to face the test of their lives. War Commander Thisara, now promoted to Fleet Supreme, appeared on the communication screen. Behind her, Jake could see dozens of other alien officers from different species. They had all united for one purpose: to destroy the human ship that had humiliated the mighty Velthrani Empire. Captain Morrison, Thisara said with cold satisfaction, you have led us quite a chase across the galaxy, but now you face the combined might of civilized space. Surrender your primitive vessel and face judgment for your crimes against galactic order. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was ready for battle despite the overwhelming odds. Lisa Carter had spent the past 3 weeks modifying the ship's systems based on data provided by the Zephyrian AIs. The Defiance was now more powerful than ever before. Fleet Supreme Thisara, Jake replied calmly, I have a different proposal. You want to prove that your combined forces can defeat one human ship. I accept your challenge. But let's make this interesting. The alien commander leaned forward in her chair. What do you mean? A running battle through the Maelstrom Nebula, Jake said. Your entire fleet against my one ship. If you can destroy us in that hostile environment, then you prove human technology is worthless. If we escape, then maybe you should reconsider your opinions about primitive engineering. Maelstrom Nebula was a region of space that most ships avoided. Gravitational anomalies, radiation storms, and debris fields made it extremely dangerous to navigate. Few pilots had ever successfully crossed it, and none had attempted to fight a battle inside its boundaries. You propose to enter the Maelstrom with a single vessel while pursued by 10,000 ships? Thisara asked. That is not courage, Captain, that is suicide. Only one way to find out, Jake replied. Unless the mighty Galactic Alliance is afraid of a little bit of rough space. Jake could see anger flash across the alien commander's face. The challenge was perfectly calculated to strike at her pride and the pride of every species in the fleet. They could not refuse without appearing cowardly. Very well, Thisara said finally. You have 1 hour to enter the nebula. Then we will begin the hunt. When we drag your broken ship out of that maze, the galaxy will see what happens to primitives who challenge their betters. The communication ended and Jake turned to his crew. Lisa, are the modifications ready? Captain, the new systems are beyond anything I have ever worked with, Lisa replied with excitement. The Zephyrian AIs helped me implement chaos theory, algorithms into our defensive and tactical systems. The ship can now reconfigure itself in real time based on changing conditions. Nexus Prime 7 stepped forward from where it had been observing the bridge operations. Captain Morrison, we must inform you that this undertaking has a very low probability of success. Our calculations suggest a survival rate of less than 3%. What do your calculations say about the survival rate of the galaxy if the Entropy Collective arrives? Jake asked. Without major changes to galactic military doctrine, the survival rate approaches 0, the AI admitted. Jake nodded. Then 3% sounds pretty good to me. The Defiance turned toward the Maelstrom Nebula and engaged its engines. Behind them, the massive alien fleet began to follow. Jake could feel the tension on the bridge as they approached the swirling clouds of gas and energy that marked the nebula's edge. Entering the Maelstrom in 30 seconds, announced Sarah Mitchell, the ship's navigator. She had joined the crew just before they left human space and had quickly proven herself to be one of the best pilots in the fleet. The ship plunged into the nebula and immediately everything changed. The main screen filled with swirling colors as charged particles danced around the hull. Gravity waves from hidden masses pulled the ship in different directions, Radiation levels spiked and fell in unpredictable patterns. The alien fleet is entering the nebula, Ryan Burke reported from Tactical. They are maintaining standard formation and following optimal navigation routes through the interference. Jake smiled. That was exactly what he had hoped they would do. Sarah, take us through the Gravity Falls region. Maximum evasion pattern. Captain, that region is considered impassable, Sarah protested. The gravitational anomalies could tear the ship apart. Not if we let the ship adapt, Jake replied. Lisa, activate the new systems. Lisa's hands flew across her control panel and suddenly the Defiance began to change. Hull sections shifted position, engine output varied in complex patterns, and even the artificial gravity inside the ship fluctuated as the vessel adapted to the chaotic environment. The first group of pursuing ships tried to follow the Defiance through the gravity falls and immediately ran into trouble. Their rigid formations broke apart as gravitational forces pulled individual vessels off course. 3 selenite crystal ships collided with each other when their navigation computers could not adapt fast enough to changing conditions. The alien ships are having difficulty maintaining cohesion, Ben reported. Their systems are designed for predictable environments. For 6 hours, the chase continued through the most dangerous regions of the nebula. The Defiance led the alien fleet through radiation storms, asteroid fields, and gravitic anomalies. Every challenge that would have destroyed a conventional ship became an opportunity for the human vessel to demonstrate its adaptability. Sarah Mitchell proved to be a navigator beyond compare. She plotted courses through impossible terrain using intuition and split-second timing rather than computer calculations. When the navigation computers said a route was impossible, Sarah found a way to make it work. Ryan Burke turned every environmental hazard into a weapon. He used gravity wells to accelerate tungsten slugs to incredible velocities. He guided pursuing ships into radiation storms that overloaded their delicate electronics. He even used floating debris as improvised ammunition for the railgun batteries. Captain, the alien fleet has lost over 40% of its ships, Ryan reported. Most of the losses are due to environmental hazards rather than direct combat. Jake watched the tactical display and saw the alien formation continuing to break apart. The various species were having trouble coordinating their different technologies in the chaotic environment. Ships designed for elegant maneuvers were colliding with vessels that relied on brute force propulsion. They are fighting the nebula, instead of working with it, Lisa observed. Human engineering philosophy is finally showing its advantages. Nexus Prime 7 had been monitoring the battle from its position on the bridge. Captain Morrison, our analysis of this engagement, is producing data that challenges fundamental assumptions about optimal design. The Zephyrian Collective will need to completely revise our understanding of engineering principles. Maybe optimal is not always best, Jake suggested. Maybe sometimes you need something that works reliably instead of something that works perfectly. The Defiance emerged from the nebula 6 hours later, with less than half the alien fleet still in pursuit. The massive force that had entered the maelstrom as a unified armada was now a scattered collection of damaged ships struggling to maintain formation. But Jake knew the real test was just beginning. The aliens had learned from their mistakes and they were angry. The final battle would determine whether humanity had a future in the galaxy or whether they would be remembered only as a primitive species that briefly challenged their betters before being crushed. The Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Kepler 442b system. Captain Jake Morrison immediately saw the Vilthrani battle group hanging in space like deadly flowers. Their ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Long curved hulls gleamed with silver and blue metal, while energy fields danced around them like living light. Captain, I count 12 Vilthrani warships, Ryan Burke reported from his tactical station. They are in standard battle formation, around the planet. The lead ship appears to be a heavy cruiser-class vessel. Jake studied the alien ships on the main screen. The Vilthrani built their vessels to look like works of art. Every line was perfect and every surface was smooth. These ships moved through space like dancers performing an ancient ritual. But Jake knew that beneath all that beauty lay weapons that could burn worlds. Dr. Rodriguez, open a communication channel to the Vilthrani commander, Jake ordered. Amy. Rodriguez worked at her station and soon the main screen showed the bridge of the lead Vilthrani ship. War Commander Thisara appeared on the display. She was tall and thin like all her species, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Her large eyes were completely black, and her long fingers ended in sharp points. "I am War Commander Thisara of the Valthrani Imperial Fleet," the alien said in perfect English. "You are in violation of ancient territorial claims. This system belongs to the Valthrani Empire by right of first discovery." Jake stood up and faced the screen. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Defiance. Those are human colonists on that planet. We are here to protect them." Thisara looked at Jake with what might have been amusement. "Your ship appears to be powered by primitive nuclear fusion. Your weapons seem to be simple projectile launchers. Do you truly believe such crude technology can challenge the might of the Valthrani Empire?" "Why don't you find out?" Jake replied, calmly. The alien commander studied the Defiance on her own screens. Jake could see other Valthrani officers moving around behind her. They all looked confident and relaxed. To them, the human ship probably looked like an ancient relic that had somehow found its way into modern space. "Your vessel is certainly unusual," Thisara said. "It appears to be constructed entirely of primitive metal alloys. I detect no exotic matter cores, no plasma cascade generators, no dimensional field projectors. How does such a crude ship even achieve faster than light travel?" Lisa Carter stepped up beside Jake. "We use human engineering principles. You probably would not understand them." Several Valthrani officers made sounds that might have been laughter. Thisara herself seemed amused by the human response. "Very well," the war commander said. "I will give you one opportunity to withdraw from this system. Take your primitive vessel back to Earth and inform your leaders that the Valthrani Empire is not to be challenged. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why our technology has dominated this region of space for over 10,000 years. Jake looked at his crew. Every person on the bridge was watching him and waiting for his decision. They had trained for this moment, but none of them had ever fought against alien warships before. The Valthrani had weapons and shields that could destroy most human vessels without taking any damage in return. "Dr. Rodriguez, please give War Commander Thisara a message from humanity," Jake said. Amy nodded and activated the communication system. "War Commander, the captain wishes me to tell you that humans have a saying. Come and take it." The alien commander's expression changed. Her black eyes seemed to grow even darker, and her long fingers curled into fists. "You dare to challenge the Valthrani Empire with that pathetic vessel? Very well. You will learn what happens to primitives who do not know their place in the galaxy." The communication channel closed, and the Valthrani ships began to move. They formed a perfect battle line and advanced toward the Defiance. Energy fields around. Their hulls grew brighter as they charged their weapons. "All hands to battle stations," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "This is not a drill. Prepare for combat." The bridge lights dimmed and red emergency lighting activated. Jake could hear the sound of the ship's massive reactors increasing power output. The Defiance might look crude compared to alien vessels, but every system had been designed for one purpose: to fight and win against impossible odds. "Captain, the Valthrani are charging plasma cascade weapons," Ryan reported. "Those weapons are designed to overload energy shields and vaporize hull armor." "Do we have energy shields?" Jake asked. "No, sir," Ryan replied with a grin. "We have 6 feet of hardened steel armor over a titanium framework. Their fancy plasma weapons are about to meet old-fashioned human engineering." The first Valthrani ship fired its main weapon. A stream of superheated plasma lanced across space toward the Defiance. The energy beam struck the human ship's hull and spread across the armor plating like water hitting a rock. When the light faded, the Defiance was still there and still moving forward. "Damage report," Jake called out. "Minor hull scoring," Lisa reported. "The armor held perfectly. Their plasma weapons cannot penetrate our defensive systems." On the main screen, Jake could see confusion spreading through the Valthrani formation. Their ship slowed down and seemed to hesitate. This was not supposed to happen. Their weapons should have cut through the human ship like it was made of paper. "Ryan, return fire," Jake ordered. "Show them what human weapons can do." The Defiance's railgun batteries activated with a sound like thunder. Magnetic fields accelerated tungsten, slugs to incredible speeds and hurled them across space. The metal projectiles struck the lead Valthrani ship and punched straight through its energy shields. The alien vessel shuddered as the tungsten slugs tore through its hull. Explosions erupted along the ship's length as internal systems overloaded. The beautiful curved hull cracked and split open, venting atmosphere and debris into space. Direct hit on the enemy flagship, Ryan reported. Their shields offered no protection against kinetic projectiles. The other Valthrani ships opened fire with every weapon they had. Plasma beams and particle cannons filled space with deadly energy. But the Defiance kept moving forward through the barrage. Its thick armor absorbed hit after hit without serious damage. Jake realized that the aliens had made a critical mistake. They had designed their weapons to fight other energy-based technologies. They had never encountered a ship that used primitive kinetic weapons and simple armor plating. Ben, can you explain what is happening here? Jake asked his science officer. Captain, the Valthrani weapons are optimized for defeating sophisticated energy shields, Ben replied. Our armor is too simple and too thick for their systems to handle efficiently. Meanwhile, our railguns are firing solid projectiles that their shields cannot deflect. The battle continued for 20 minutes. The Defiance moved through the Valthrani formation like an unstoppable force. Its weapons destroyed 3 alien ships and damaged 4 more. The remaining Valthrani vessels began to retreat toward the outer system. Captain, I am receiving a transmission from the planet, Amy announced. The colonists report that Valthrani ground forces are withdrawing to their transport ships. Jake nodded. Begin evacuation procedures. Get every colonist off that planet. And onto our ship. We leave as soon as everyone is aboard. The Defiance descended through the planet's atmosphere like a metal mountain. Its landing systems were not elegant, but they were effective. Within 6 hours, all 50,000 colonists were aboard the ship and secured in temporary quarters. As they lifted off from the planet's surface, Jake looked back at the retreating Valthrani fleet. The aliens would return with more ships and better weapons. But today, humanity had proven that sometimes the old ways were still the best ways. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the HSV Defiance and watched the stars through the thick metal windows. The ship was not like other vessels in the galaxy. While alien ships looked smooth and pretty, the Defiance looked like a giant block of steel floating in space. Jake did not mind this at all. He knew what his ship could do. The year was 2387, and humans had been part of the Galactic Council for almost 100 years. Most human ships now used alien technology and followed alien rules for building spacecraft, but the Defiance was different. It was built the old human way, with thick armor and big guns that shot metal slugs instead of fancy energy beams. Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge carrying a data pad. She was the chief engineer and had spent 5 years making the ship's systems work perfectly. Lisa was proud of her work even though other species called human technology old and useless. Captain, the fusion reactors are running at full power, Lisa said. All weapon systems are ready. The ship is prepared for whatever comes next. Jake nodded and looked at the communication screen. Admiral Kane Phillips appeared on the display, from Earth Defense Command. The Admiral looked worried and tired. Jake knew why. The aliens on the Galactic Council were getting angry with humans again. Captain Morrison, we have a serious problem, Admiral Phillips said. The Valthrani Empire just attacked our colony on Kepler 442b. They claim we built it on their ancient territory. The Council refuses to help us. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The Valthrani were tall, thin aliens who thought they were better than everyone else. They had pale blue skin and glowing eyes that made them look cold and mean. The worst part was how they treated humans like children who did not understand the galaxy. How many colonists are on Kepler 442b? Jake asked. About 50,000 people, Admiral Phillips replied. Families, scientists, workers, all good people who just wanted to build a new life. The Valthrani say they will attack again in 72 hours. They want to make sure no humans survive. Lisa stepped closer to the screen. Admiral, what are our orders? Admiral Phillips was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke in a low voice. This mission is classified. The Council cannot know what we are doing. Take the Defiance to Kepler 442b and evacuate those colonists. Get them out before the second attack comes. What about the Velthrani ships that are already there? Jake asked. Do whatever you must do, Admiral Phillips said. But remember, Captain, if this goes wrong, Earth could lose its place on the Galactic Council. We might even face war with multiple alien empires. The stakes could not be higher. The screen went dark, and Jake turned to his crew. The bridge was full of people who had volunteered for this secret mission. They all knew the risks. They also knew that the Defiance was humanity's best-kept secret. Dr. Amy Rodriguez sat at the communications station. She was both a scientist who studied alien life and a diplomat who could speak many alien languages. Amy had joined the crew because she believed humans deserved respect in the galaxy. Captain, I have been monitoring Velthrani communications, Amy said. They are calling this attack a lesson for humanity. They want to show the galaxy that humans are weak and should not have colonies so far from Earth. Ryan Burke looked up from the weapons control station. He was the tactical officer and had served in 3 different wars before joining the Defiance crew. Ryan knew how to fight and win against impossible odds. Captain, our weapon systems are designed to fight alien ships, Ryan said. The railguns can punch through any shield technology the Velthrani use, but they have more ships than we do. Jake walked to the center of the bridge and looked at his crew. These people had trained together for 2 years. They believed in their ship and in each other. Most importantly, they believed that humans could stand up to any alien empire. Listen carefully, Jake said. The aliens think we are weak because our technology looks old. They think our weapons are primitive because we use metal slugs instead of energy beams. They think our ship is slow because it looks heavy and ugly. Lisa smiled. But they are wrong about everything. That is right, Jake continued. The Defiance is not pretty, but it is strong. Our weapons may look simple, but they work. Our ship may not be fast, but it can take damage that would destroy any alien vessel. We are going to show the Velthrani what human engineering can really do. Ben Taylor, the chief science officer, activated the star charts on the main screen. He had studied alien technology for 15 years and understood why the Defiance was special. Human ships were built to survive and adapt, while alien ships were built to look impressive and follow strict rules. Captain, the journey to Kepler 442b will take 18 hours at maximum speed, Ben said. The Velthrani will detect us long before we arrive. They will have time to prepare for battle. Jake smiled. Good. Let them prepare. Let them bring more ships. Let them think they know what will happen when they fight us. The crew began working at their stations to prepare for departure. Jake walked to the observation deck and looked out at the asteroid belt, where the Defiance had been built in secret. Hidden shipyards had worked for years to create this vessel without the aliens knowing about it. The ship's engines began to warm up, and Jake felt the familiar vibration through the deck plates. The fusion reactors were putting out more power than most alien ships could even detect. The Defiance was about to show the galaxy that humans were not weak or primitive. All stations report ready for departure, Lisa announced over the ship's communication system. Jake returned to the bridge and sat in the captain's chair. Take us out of the asteroid field. Set course for Kepler 442b. Maximum speed. The Defiance began to move, and its massive engines created gravitational waves that spread across the solar system. On alien monitoring stations throughout human space, sensors began to register something they had never seen before. A human ship with power signatures that seemed impossible. The ship jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared from the Sol system. Behind them, Admiral Phillips watched the sensor readings and hoped his gamble would work. The Defiance was humanity's secret weapon, but it was also their biggest risk. If the ship failed, Earth would face the anger of the entire galaxy. News of the Defiance's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On thousands of worlds, alien species watched recordings of the battle and tried to understand what they had seen. A single human ship had defeated an entire Velthrani battle group using weapons that most civilizations had abandoned centuries ago. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the ship's main conference room with his senior officers. The rescued colonists were safely housed in temporary quarters throughout the vessel. The Defiance was now 3 days out from Kepler 442b and heading toward the edge of human space. "Captain, I am detecting an unknown vessel approaching our position," Ben Taylor announced from the science station. "The ship's design does not match any known configuration in our databases." Jake moved to the main display and studied the approaching vessel. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The ship appeared to be made of crystalline structures that grew from a central core like branches on a tree. Light flowed through the transparent hull in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "That is a Zephyrian collective vessel," Dr. Amy Rodriguez said quietly. "I have only seen pictures of their ships before. The collective rarely interacts with organic species." The Zephyrian collective was one of the most mysterious powers in the galaxy. They were artificial intelligences that had achieved consciousness millions of years ago. Their technology was so advanced that other species could barely understand how it worked. The fact that they wanted to talk to the Defiance was both exciting and terrifying. "They are requesting permission to dock with our ship," Amy reported. "The message is in perfect English, but the syntax suggests it was composed by an artificial intelligence." Jake considered his options. The collective had never shown hostility toward humanity, but they had never shown much interest either. Their sudden appearance could not be a coincidence. Grant them permission to dock, Jake decided, but keep all weapon systems ready. We do not know what they want. The crystalline ship moved alongside the Defiance with impossible grace. A docking tube extended from its hull and connected to the human vessel's airlock. Jake gathered his senior officers and walked to the docking bay to meet their visitors. The airlock opened and 3 figures emerged. They looked humanoid, but their bodies were clearly mechanical. Each one was about 7 feet tall with silver metal skin that reflected light like mirrors. Their faces had features that resembled humans, but their eyes glowed with blue energy. "I am Nexus Prime 7 of the Zephyrian Collective," the lead figure announced. Its voice was perfectly clear but had no emotion or inflection. "We wish to examine your vessel and speak with your commanding officer." "I am Captain Jake Morrison," Jake replied. "This is my ship and these are my officers. What does the collective want with us?" Nexus Prime 7 turned its glowing eyes toward Jake. "Your recent engagement with Valthrani forces has produced data that contradicts our understanding of optimal engineering principles. We require clarification of this anomaly." Lisa Carter stepped forward. "What kind of anomaly?" "Your vessel's performance parameters should be impossible." Another AI responded. "Your weapon systems utilize kinetic projectiles which we calculate to be inferior to energy-based armaments. Your defensive systems rely on primitive armor plating rather than sophisticated field generators. Yet you achieved victory against technologically superior opponents." Ben Taylor smiled. "You want to understand how we won?" "Affirmative," Nexus Prime 7 said. "Our analysis suggests that human engineering follows principles that we have not encountered before. We wish to study these principles." Jake led the AI visitors on a tour of the ship. They examined every system with intense curiosity. The fusion reactors, the railgun batteries, the armor plating, the life support systems, everything that other species considered primitive or inefficient. "Your reactor design prioritizes redundancy over efficiency," one AI observed. "You have 17 backup systems where our calculations suggest 3 would be optimal." Human. "Ships are built to survive," Lisa explained. "We would rather have our systems work reliably than work perfectly." The AIs spent hours studying the ship's weapon systems. Ryan Burke demonstrated how the railguns could be reconfigured for different types of ammunition. Tungsten slugs for armor penetration, explosive shells for area effect, even simple steel balls for overwhelming enemy point defenses. "Your tactical doctrine emphasizes adaptability over optimization," Nexus Prime 7 noted. "You modify your approach based on changing circumstances rather than following predetermined strategies." "Every battle is different," Ryan said. "We have to be ready for anything." During their examination, the AIs revealed information that shocked the human crew. The galaxy was facing a threat that made the Valthrani Empire look like children playing with toys. Something was approaching from outside the galaxy itself. Something that had already consumed entire star systems in distant regions of space. have designated this threat as the Entropy Collective, Nexus Prime 7 explained. They appear to be entities that feed on order and structure. Conventional galactic civilization is precisely what they target for consumption. Amy asked the question that everyone was thinking. What do they want from our galaxy? Everything, the AI replied. They consume matter, energy, and information. But more than that, they consume the concept of organization itself. Where they pass, chaos remains. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. How long do we have? Our projections suggest first contact will occur within 18 standard months, Nexus Prime 7 said. All galactic civilizations are preparing for this threat. However, our analysis indicates that conventional approaches will prove insufficient. The AI turned to face Jake directly. This is why we are interested in human engineering principles. Your species appears to embrace controlled chaos as a design philosophy. This may be the key to resisting the Entropy Collective. Before Jake could respond, the ship's communication system activated. Admiral Kane Phillips appeared on the main screen and his expression was grim. Captain Morrison, return to Earth immediately, the Admiral ordered. The Valthrani Empire has declared war on humanity. They are assembling the largest battle fleet in recorded history. Every human world is in danger. Jake looked at his crew and then at the AI visitors. Admiral, we may have discovered something more important than the Valthrani threat. Whatever it is will have to wait, Admiral Phillips replied. The Chronari, Federation and the Selenite Trade Union are supporting the Valthrani. Half the galaxy is preparing to attack Earth. We need the Defiance here to help defend our homeworld. Nexus Prime 7 stepped into view of the communication screen. Admiral Phillips stared at the AI in shock. Admiral Phillips of Earth Defense Command, the AI said. The Zephyrian Collective formally requests permission to establish a technological exchange program with humanity. Your species may possess capabilities that are essential for galactic survival. Admiral Phillips was quiet for a long moment. Captain Morrison, what have you gotten us into? Jake looked at the stars on the main display. The galaxy suddenly seemed much more dangerous, and much more complicated than it had been just a few days ago. Admiral, I think we are about to find out what humans are really capable of, Jake said. And I think the galaxy is about to find out too. The transmission ended, and Jake faced a choice that would determine the fate of not just humanity but every species in the galaxy. Return to Earth and fight a war against multiple alien empires, or continue forward and prepare for something much worse that was coming from the darkness between galaxies. The ancient precursor station hung in space like a metallic flower frozen in time. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive structure on the main screen and felt a chill run down his spine. The station was easily 50 miles across and covered, with geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change when he was not looking directly at them. Captain, the remaining alien ships are taking positions around the station, Ryan Burke reported from Tactical. They think they have us cornered. Jake looked at the tactical display. Less than 5,000 ships remained from the original fleet of 10,000. The chase through the Maelstrom Nebula had cost the aliens dearly, but 5,000 ships were still more than enough to destroy the Defiance if they could coordinate their attack properly. Dr. Ben Taylor worked frantically at his science station. Captain, I am detecting incredible energy readings from the station. Whatever this thing is, it has been dormant for thousands of years, but it is definitely not dead. 3 days ago, Ben had made an amazing discovery while studying data from the nebula chase. The precursor station was not just another ancient ruin. It was a weapon built by the galaxy's previous inhabitants to fight something that threatened all life. Ben believed that something was the same threat the Zephyrian AIs had warned them about. Dr. Rodriguez, any luck establishing communication with the station? Jake asked. Amy Rodriguez shook her head. I have tried every language and protocol in our databases. The station is definitely scanning us, but it has not responded to any of our messages. Fleet Supreme Thisara appeared on the communication screen. Her usually perfect appearance was disheveled and her glowing eyes burned with hatred. The chase through the nebula had humiliated her forces, and she was determined to end this once and for all. Captain Morrison, you have led us to an ancient ruin in the middle of nowhere, Thisara said. Did you think hiding behind precursor debris would save you from justice? Surrender now, and we will make your death quick. I have a better idea, Jake replied. Why don't you come and get us? The alien fleet began to advance on the station in a carefully coordinated attack formation. The various species had finally learned to work together during the chase through the nebula. Velthrani plasma weapons, Chronari bioacids, and selenite crystal beams would strike the Defiant simultaneously from multiple directions. Captain, we cannot fight that many ships in open space, Lisa Carter warned from her engineering station. Even with all our modifications, we will be overwhelmed. Jake was about to give the order to dock with the station when something incredible happened. The ancient structure suddenly came to life. Lights began to flow along the geometric patterns covering its hull. Energy readings spiked beyond anything the ship's sensors could measure. Captain, the station is responding to our presence, Ben announced excitedly. It is scanning our ship's computer systems and downloading our entire database. A new voice suddenly filled the bridge. It was ancient and tired, but filled with desperate hope. At last, a species that understands chaos, as a tool rather than an enemy. We have waited so long for someone like you to arrive. The main screen flickered and showed the image of a being unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It looked somewhat humanoid, but its body seemed to be made of living energy contained within a roughly human shape. Its face was impossible to focus on directly, but its voice was clear and strong. I am the last guardian of this facility, the being said. My species built this station to fight the Entropy Collective when they last visited this galaxy. We failed because we tried to fight chaos with order. You humans might succeed because you fight chaos with chaos. Amy leaned forward in excitement. You are a real precursor? Your species disappeared millions of years ago. We did not disappear, the Guardian replied sadly. We were consumed. The Entropy Collective feeds on civilization itself. They turn order into chaos and chaos into nothingness. Only a species that embraces controlled chaos has any hope of resisting them. The first alien ships reached weapon range and opened fire on the station. Plasma beams and particle cannons struck the ancient structure's shields and were absorbed without causing any damage. The precursor technology was still far beyond anything the galaxy's current inhabitants could produce. Guardian, can this station help us fight the alien fleet? Jake asked. The station's weapons are not designed to fight conventional ships, the Guardian explained, but I can offer you something else. Knowledge. The location of the Entropy Collectives, advanced scouts, and the tools you will need to fight them. On the tactical display, Jake watched the alien fleet spread out around the station. They were preparing for a massive coordinated assault that would overwhelm even precursor shields. But something was wrong with their formation. Ships were moving erratically, and some were firing on their own allies. Captain, the alien fleet is breaking apart, Ryan reported in confusion. Ships are attacking each other and their formations are collapsing. Ben studied his sensor readings and his face went pale. Captain, I am detecting massive distortions in space-time around the station. Something is emerging from hyperspace. The space around the precursor station began to twist and bend as reality itself seemed to come apart. Dark shapes emerged from the distortions like living shadows given substance. The Entropy Collective had arrived early, and they were hungry. The decoy. Scouts have found us, the Guardian said urgently. Captain Morrison, dock your ship with the station immediately. I will transfer the knowledge you need to fight them. But hurry. Once they fully manifest in this dimension, it will be too late for all of us. Jake did not hesitate. Sarah, take us in. Emergency docking procedures. The Defiants raced toward the station as chaos erupted around them. The dark entities that emerged from hyperspace began attacking everything in sight. Alien ships exploded as the entropy creatures touched them, their matter and energy consumed in seconds. The human ship connected with the station just as the first entropy entity reached them. Jake felt knowledge flowing into his mind from the Guardian. Images of battles fought across millions of years, tactics for fighting enemies that existed outside normal reality, and the location of the main entropy collective force that was approaching the galaxy. The knowledge is yours, the Guardian said as its form began to fade. Use it wisely. The fate of all organized life depends on what you do next. The station began to collapse as the entropy entities overwhelmed its defenses. The Defiance disconnected and accelerated away from the dying structure. Behind them, the remnants of the alien fleet were being systematically destroyed by creatures that turned matter into nothingness with a touch. "Captain, we have a priority message from Admiral Phillips," Amy announced. The Admiral appeared on the screen and his expression was grim. "Captain Morrison, Earth's deep space sensors have detected massive gravitational anomalies at the galactic edge. Something big is coming and we need every ship we can get. What is your status?" Jake looked at his crew and then at Nexus Prime 7, who had witnessed everything that had happened. The AI's glowing eyes seemed brighter than usual as it processed the implications of what they had learned. "Admiral, we have information that changes everything," Jake said. "The galaxy is about to face an enemy that makes the Valthrani Empire look like children with toys, but we also have the knowledge we need to fight them." "What are you talking about, Captain?" "Admiral, I am requesting permission to address the Galactic Council. Every species in the galaxy needs to hear what we have learned, and they need to learn how to fight like humans." 6 months later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the HSV Defiance II and watched the mixed fleet of human and alien ships preparing for battle. The galaxy had listened to his warning and had begun building ships based on human engineering principles. Chaos ships, they called them. Vessels that could adapt and survive in impossible conditions. The crew around him included officers from every major species in the galaxy. Valthrani, Kranari, Selenites, and even Zephyrian AIs had learned to think like humans. They had learned that sometimes the best solution was not the most elegant one. "Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting the main entropy collective force," reported Commander Sarah Mitchell, now his second in command. "They will arrive in 6 hours. Jake smiled as he looked at the fleet assembled around them. Ships that looked like the old Defiance but built by alien hands using human principles. Weapons that combined the best of every species' technology with human adaptability and chaos theory. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," he announced over the fleet communication system. "Today we fight not as separate species, but as one galaxy united against the darkness. Remember what we have learned. When order fails, chaos succeeds. When perfection breaks, adaptability endures. Today we show the universe what happens when the galaxy learns to think like humans." The fleet turned toward the approaching darkness and prepared for the battle that would determine the fate of all organized life in the galaxy. The human ship that no empire could stop had become the template for a new kind of civilization, one that could face any threat because it had learned the greatest human truth of all. Sometimes the impossible was just another word for difficult.